Okay, that's fantastic. The session is being recorded. So as I said, this is our second lecture of 3 lectures that we have on Tableau and data visualization. So last week we learned what is data visualization, why it is important, and we had a quick look at the software of focus here, which is Tableau. And during the workshops, we learned basic functionalities of Tableau. We made some charts and some cool dashboards. So today we're going to focus more on the conceptual stuff here. We are going to see the approaches, how we have to approach our analysis. We'll become familiar with the principles of dashboard design, best practices, and the things that we have to avoid while we are creating a dashboard or a chart. Now, how to approach our analysis. If you remember, I told you last week, when you want to create a visualization, first you have to know who is your audience, and this is really important. It's an important sort of like factor in terms of because it influences you should decide to create. So know your audience. Do you know who is going to be viewing your dashboard? It could have an effect on how you design it. And always think about this before you start to create your visualization, because as I said, we will see a few examples here, and in best practices we will see how we have to approach it. But it is really important to know who is going to view our dashboard if you're going to present it. Business dashboards, it's always very likely that your audience is a mixture of like senior and junior users. Senior users, like top managers, normally want to see an overview of the headline numbers, not too much of details of what's going on. If you're talking about sales, for instance, they want to see what is the total sales. They don't really, they're not really interested in seeing if the sales for copier is like 40,185 or 41,000, for instance. This is unlike junior users, or more likely to need the granular detail in order to report back in more detail to their bosses. So the top managers just want to see the headline numbers, and junior users want to know the details, so that they can go back to their managers and tell that, for instance, oh, in table we're not doing well, and it is better to spend some marketing effort to see if we can increase the profit for this specific category that we have. Big ass numbers or bands are very useful to give a summary information. I'll show you a few examples then. And then drill down from high level to more detail. So this is the way that we create the dashboard, that we start with, like for top managers, like some bands, for instance, and then step by step we go down and we give more details. Here, for instance, you can see that what I put at the top is what we use in Python, that it's not equality. Always complex doesn't mean that it's good. If you have something like this for a general audience, it's something that they don't really understand, or that they don't really care what is the formulation which is used to calculate something, whereas they are interested to know what is the total sale, what is the total profit, which is a single number, a big number that we have there. This is something that in visualization we avoid to have complexity. This is unlike something like publishing a paper. In a paper, it is more likely to get a better audience or better review if you have more complexity in your publication. Robert docking is something which is really helpful. It's not only for visualization, for everything, I would say. And remember the ones I told you, the best way of learning is to teach something. Robert docking is not teaching, but it's something like similar. It sounds really naive, but it is really important. So Robert docking is essentially giving your idea aloud to an inanimated object, which can be a rubber duck. it can be a flower, it can be a glass. You just say it loudly, it comes out of your mouth, so you can think about what you're telling. So state your aims for a dashboard out loud. So your aim of having the dashboard, what you're creating this dashboard, or your audience, what are you going to put in your dashboard, and just say it loud so that you can hear yourself. Try to keep your descriptions as concise as possible. And think of the case if you can, if you have a partner, if you have like parents or a roommate, flatmate, try to explain them what you want to say. If they can understand in a matter of like not too long, like an hour or like 2 hours, if quickly can understand, you can ensure yourself that your audience also understand what you have, and then transport this verbal description into your visual analysis in Tableau. This is a very nice way of for something like visualization, because you know the purpose, you know the data set, you know the audience. That's good that you have to create the idea how you're going to essentially present it, and just telling this to someone, even someone who can't have any reaction, is very, very helpful. W questions, I quickly mentioned this in the workshop, the questions that you have: what, where, who, when, why, and how doesn't have, it doesn't start with W, but still, this can guide you through your analysis, what you have to have. A structured approach to data exploration can save you time and guide you before you start analysis in data, the data in Tableau. For example, if you want to answer a question which is when, then you know that you're going to focus on timeline. You'll have a line chart. If you're going to focus, if you want to answer the question, this is where question, then you know that you're going to talk about geographical information. It can be a map, or it can be something like a bar chart, depending on the data set that you have. Another thing, after you know what you're going to say, you have the idea, you know the audience, you know the data set, you have to figure it out how it looks like, right? It's always a good practice to sketch it out first on a piece of paper. Just draw what you want to have in your visualization dashboard, in your visualization charts that you're going to create. This is really, really helpful. This is like what was told you in optimization. When you have a problem, try to sketch it out, see how the problem looks like, and it gives you some ideas. It just somehow gives you a sort of like guidance or your decision variables, what you're trying to solve. It is the same for the visualization. Just sketch it out first, and then you will start to work or create similar thing in Tableau. You don't need to do it on a piece of paper. You can see the link here. Excalibur gives you a tool which is drag and drop, and you can just draw the visualization that you have. This is essentially that you can create with a pen and paper, can be created in this online tool. So this is a real case that was first sketched here in Excalibur, and this is the final dashboard that was created. So you can see that this is very, very similar to what was sketched. You can ask the customer, if you're doing this for a customer, you can ask them to sketch it out first in a piece of paper or at this website. They say, oh, we want something like this, that we want to have a bar chart here, we want to have another bar chart here, which is like similar to this one, top ones, low ones, etc. And I want to have some bands here, big numbers here. And this is the final result, which is created in Tableau. And this is always an iterative process. You never start with the best dashboard or visualization that you want. You start with something, iteratively just improve it. You never get the final version in your first attempt. So be flexible, ask for feedback along the way at each stage from the customer that you have, or if you're doing this for your manager, or sometimes it's just you can ask someone who will share a house with, or a friend or something. Be open to suggestion, because it is really important. Sometimes you can see something which is very obvious, but someone else immediately can tell you, oh, if you do it in this way, it is better to present this piece of data that you have. So you have to be open to accept the ideas. So here you can see that this is the first attempt, and after a few sort of like rounds of modification, the final dashboard looks like this, which is very much better than this one. And it is a period of development. You start with something here which is a chaos here with the research. When you come to the prototype, you have sort of like your com now. You can you know what you want to do, and the design is something which is now straightforward. The 30-second rule is what I was talking about in Robert Dawkins' slide. Show a dashboard to someone who has no knowledge of the data visualization or the subject that you're talking about, the data set and also data visualization. Can they understand what's happening within a reasonable amount of time, like in 30 seconds, maybe in 5 minutes, for instance, in 10 minutes? Did they have to ask lots of questions to understand? This is not good. If they ask lots of questions, remember that in the workshop this week, I showed you these numbers of the sales, and I told you we want to add the currency because we don't want the audience to ask us the question, is it the number of the items that you're selling, or this is monetary value that we get as the sale. So if the person that you're explaining the visualization asks too many questions, that's going to be likely the same when you're presenting the dashboard. Remember that complex doesn't mean that it is good. In date, keep it simple. So this is a nice quote from the book, the big book of dashboards, by some people from Tableau, and some people, Steve Wexler is a data visualization geek. So for the largest number of people, provide the greatest degree of understanding with the least amount of effort. This is actually a talent if you can do this. If you have, if you can explain something simple and shortly, which is normally very long, that's a big talent. There are two different ways of having dashboards. One is explanatory, and the other one is exploratory. The first one normally focuses on a part of the data set. You have a large data set and you want to focus on a specific matter, like for instance sales only, or a specific time of the year. So you want to explain something, you want to answer something. This is essentially, it can be focused on specific values, trends, or angles of the analysis. On the other hand, we have exploratory dashboards where we focus on giving an overview of data with the ability for the user to drill down to the area that they concern the most. So in the second one, basically we give all details of the data set that we have, and we leave it to the audience to decide which one they want to focus more. Many business dashboards are exploratory. You give too many information, not complex, but you don't focus on a specific part of your data. Ask yourself if the purpose of the dashboard while still in planning stage. So when you're going to decide on which questions you're going to answer and those stuff, you can ask the same as well. Is it something that you want to explain to a specific audience, or is it something that you want to explain and give an overview of the data that you have, and you just want to leave it to the audience to decide which part they want to focus more? Now, why memory is important? Memory, that's the whole thing that you're talking about in data visualization, because visualization is something related to memory. In general, we have three different types of memory. The first one is sensory. Next one that we have is short term, and we have long term. Long term is something for the lifetime. It's like our name. You never forget it. I mean, in a normal time. Short-term memory. But now I have a mouse here. This is mouse. I don't really care. I know it is mouse. But that's what we have. That's something. Or for instance, something happened today. I had to wait somewhere for 10 minutes, and I was really gutted because I had to wait for 10 minutes. You asked me for how long I waited, and I said like it's 10 minutes today. But next month, if you ask me on this day, when you went to the GP, for how long you waited, I wouldn't be able to tell you if it was 10 minutes. I would say, oh yes, I waited, but I don't know if it was 10 or 20 or 1 minute. Sensory is another thing which is the one which immediately impacts us when we see something. It's the shortest sort of like memory that we have. Sometimes it is called, or it is known as pre-attentive memory as well. Certain attributes are interpreted more accurately than others. This is the limitation of sensory memory. How it works: when we have information from the environment, something visually, something that we hear, something that we feel, something that we taste, it is processed first by the sensory memory, and then it is the question is asked: do we need to? Is it needed for an immediate task? If it is yes, then it is transferred to the short memory. Otherwise, it will be discarded or essentially forgotten. When you have the short-term one, again, you ask the question: needed for subsequent task. If it is yes, with some sufficient repetition, it will be transferred to our long-term memory and last with us for a long time. Now, the sensory that we have, sensory memory that we have, pre-attentive attributes. Our eyes process some stuff the best. Do you remember that I told you that when we have this bar chart for the sales, it's the best to have the bar chart because we can see the differences of the length of each of the bars. And we didn't go with the pie chart because the sensory memory is good in seeing the difference when it is related to length, the first one, or the width, this one, as you can see. It is easily understandable to see that this one is bigger than the others, wider than the others. Or the size, it's something that we can see. Orientation, shape, you can immediately see if there is something which is different. If you want to show that table is not profitable, we made it red or orange. You can make it across and keep the rest as a circle. So immediately your eye can see this and detect it. Enclosure is something else that you can somehow highlight it, that this is the one that we are doing this. Color, a different color, as you can see here. We use orange, or for color we can use intensity as well. One can be darker than the others. And there are like different sorts of like positions as well. In two-dimensional position, you can see that these are all in a line and this one is not with them. Or spatial grouping that we have here, this one is different from these two groups. Now a quick test here. How many fives you see in these numbers? I'll count and I want to see, just write it in the chat box. I want to see how long it takes. Okay, yeah, so 5 and 6 seconds, and then like 7, 8 seconds the next one. Now it's like 10 others. Yeah, this is, so I wanted to see. The more you have time, obviously you can just look for it and find it. So the first person, I guess, said in 5 seconds, and then the second one came immediately after that one in like 6 seconds. Very good. So how you do that, you just go row by row here. You see if you have any 5 here. Yes, I have 1 here, 2, 3, then I have no here. I have 1 other here and another one here. You have 1 here as well, right? This one of them. No, I said correctly. Yeah, or you can go column by column. You can just look at them in this way. There is 1 here, nothing here, nothing here, nothing here, nothing. So as you can see here, you just with a glance, you skim and see where you can see a 5. Yeah, and it takes time because you have to just go over all of them because they are written next to each other. There is not too much space between them. The colors are the same. That's why you have to check really for the number itself. Is it easier now? Immediately you can see that this is 6, isn't it? Because now I made it visually. The sensory memory is used here. The color is different for 5 compared to the others. So immediately you can see that, oh, these are like 6 5s here. So this is essentially the sensory memory that we are using here. And we are trying to do the same with visualization. We want to stimulate the audience to immediately see whatever we want to show them. That's really important. That's why you have to have the plan. What is the purpose? What question you're going to answer? Who is my audience? And how I want them to feel even. Okay. Now, effective dashboard design. We want to take the user on a journey. This is what I said. We want, sometimes you need to know even how we want them to feel based on the information that we are sharing. I will give you an example and you will see better. So ensure the order of your charts makes sense. You don't jump from something to something which is completely irrelevant after each other. The one that we had, the dashboard that we created in the workshop, we had the map, and then we had the Salesforce subcategories, and we had the timeline. So they were very nicely connected to each other. You don't want to have something which is very irrelevant next to each other. You may have like several charts in the same dashboard, but you don't want the irrelevant ones to be next to each other. Our eyes normally, in most cultures, depending on how we write, are trained to look at the top left of the page or screen. Depends on the culture, but now I'm used to always look at the top left corner of the screen or pages which is in front of me. So if you want to draw some attention to a specific value or something, you have to put it there. Place your most impactful analysis there in the left top corner. Make sure subsequent charts build out the analysis in a sensible and coherent way. So there is a story that you're telling. It's not like jumping from something to another one. Assume your user has zero knowledge of the subject or data visualization. If you're running out of space, it's okay to create a second dashboard, better than creating one complex and confusing one which is not visible. We are creating visualization because we want to stimulate the user visually, so you don't want to have something which is complex and not understandable. Consider your layout. There are different ways that we can do. Grid-based layouts often work well. As you have here several sort of like charts that we have in a grid. You could consider a columnar layout that you have a column of different charts dividing dashboard into clear sections moving down, then across. So you have here, you have like 3 of them, for instance, and then you have another column here, another column here, and another column here. It's best to go from a less granular overview at the start through to increase granularity further down in the journey. So we start with the total sales, for instance, and then we move down to the subcategories to draw some attention to specific things. This dashboard on the right-hand side is the timeline for Pink Floyd. The person who created this was a fan of Pink Floyd, a colleague of ours in the group who used to teach visualization. So you can see that it is long, but it is better than having a void dashboard. So here you can scroll down, and it's because this is timeline, you don't really mind, because we're talking about like 70s, 80s, 90s, 50s, even 60s, whatsoever. Yes, 50s, 60s, 70s. So if you see only 60s at once, that should be enough for you, because we're talking about dashboards. So it's okay to create long dashboards. They can be very useful to show additional detail and take the user on a journey. Generally much better than having wider dashboards. Use of fonts, this is also very important. That should be really nicely applied when we have a dashboard. The correct choice of a font can be very effective in increasing informative dashboard. Try not to mix fonts as it can increase cognitive load. There is no problem of having like different fonts, but it's just like visually we don't want to have cognitive load. And there are like some fonts which are like formal fonts, or they are like angry fonts. I don't know. But I remember when I created my first exam for the students, a senior colleague of mine told me that the font is not really nice because the font was Time Roman, and that one is old-fashioned. And he said that it's really is too serious, and for the exam you don't want to have something which is too serious in front of you. Calibri is the best one, I guess. It's really not serious, and it is still formal. Be aware that there are some fonts that work with Mac but not with Windows. And if you create your noise visualization or dashboard on Mac, and then you present it in Windows, by default the font will be changed, and you may not get what you wanted to see. Tableau has its own font, which is Tableau Medium. You can use this one so that across all different operation system it works. Use color to focus attention per the blue in the image that we have here. So this is the same as we had last week as well. So the gray one, you want to highlight something here, so just make it blue so that you take some attentions. Any questions up to now? Big as numbers, bands, don't hide your analysis away. Hit your user up front with crucial informations. So you see in all the examples that I have here, there is a very big number, like 197, depending on the context of the thing that you're presenting. 1,000 can be a big number. 4,468. So you can see, compared to the other numbers that we have, it's a big number. So if you just hit the user up with these numbers first, and then you give some details how you come up with this number. Use them as headline figures to inform and create an impression. We're talking about sales. Our sales is like 3 billion. Oh, and then you go to the details of what you have. In many cases, users' first requirement to an overview and summary of the data. They can then choose to explore further, as I said, depending on the purpose that you have here. The link, you can see how you can use bands in a more efficient way. Titles also very important, and if you remember from the workshop last week that we had for the charts, we use the questions as the titles of the charts. Where do we sell? What is profitable? Or when did we have the most sale, for instance. These were the titles of the visualization charts that we created. They divide your dashboard into clear sections. They can instruct your user how to interact or how to see the visualizations. Ask questions to encourage your users to the users who want to dive in and explore more, and make them obvious, bold, and like large. If you remember last week, we did the same. We used a really large font. It was bold and blue to be like what we have in most of the things in Tableau. Tooltip is something which is really nice, and we used it last week. So here you can see we have a map of like Manhattan, and then we have the tooltip here. This is the default one, and this is the modified one. You see that the one on the right, this one is better than this one, because first, the color is something which is very similar to the color that we are using in the map, and also there are some information here that you won't use, like latitude and longitude, for instance. You don't really know, you don't really want. So here, what you have is, if you move from one section to another section, you will have something like this with different numbers, which is the zip code of the place that we have. Framing, this is what I was telling you, that you have to think about what you want your, how you want your audience feel as well. There is something that you want to report here, which is the death toll in Iraq war, and you have to know what you want to tell here. Do you want to tell that it's really awful at this time, or you want to say that oh, the number of deaths is going down, so it's something positive, something negative or positive? So the one that we have on the left hand side, this is something which is like dripping blood. It is red, going down, it is red, and the title is Iraq's, it's a bit harsh, Iraq's bloody toll. And here you can see that the number of deaths, and there are so many other informations that we have here. Exactly the same figure and the same data can be presented like this, which is upside. This is upside down. The color is changed, and now you can see that if someone sees this, and if this is the time, you can see that it goes down. And the title is "Death on the Decline." So we frame the same thing in two different ways, so that we can have different reactions from the audience. You have to know your audience, you have to know the story that you want to tell, and you have to decide how you want your audience to feel as well. Now, use of color. I showed you use color to highlight something, but how you have to use color. First of all, we have diverging and sequential coloring. We discussed diverging color palette last week, as this is the example that we worked on during the workshop, where we just added profit to the color, and then we saw that tables became orange because the profit here is below zero. So diverging different colors at each end of the value range that we have. So you have the value range of profit from negative 21,000 to 56.5 thousand, and then each of the different end has a color, and the numbers or values in between are different shades of that color. So use for when values cross zero, like profit or temperature, or when there is a definitive threshold or tipping point. If you have something as the threshold, you can also change it. Here, in our case, it is zero. So anything below zero becomes like orange. On the other hand, we have sequential coloring. Here, what we have is a heat map, which is different shades of the same color. So different shades or intensities of the same color that we use here. Use when values do not cross zero, and it is good for showing intensity. Coloring discrete data or dimensions in visualization. That's also something that we can do if you have different like subcategories. Still, we can use color for them. Tableau has a maximum of 20 colors in a palette. Anything with more than 20 dimension, members will start duplicating the color. So you will end up, if you have more than 20 dimensions, you will end up in a situation that you have several categories with the same color. Use color sparingly. Prototype with no color if possible. Increase colors gradually as appropriate, rather than having everything with different colors, which is not sensible. Think about granularity. Usually too many colors is difficult to interpret, and cognitive load as well. It's better to have a single one, like this, that we have all different shades of blue. Still, it might not be really necessary to have different shades of blue here, because we have different colors. The darker, the more we know the sale is. If that's the case, we know the first one, which is on the top, is already the one which is the highest one. So avoid the hassle of having another color here. So here you can see, as we said, because cognitive load, if you have too many colors, there is this there are points of sales and profit that we can see here, and there are different colors that we have for different products. And as the number of products is more than 20, you can see that there are different products with the same color. The human eye makes associations based on color. So if there is something which is different color, it attracts some attention from a human being. Don't use color without proper thought as to the consequences, because as we said, it becomes like cognitive load. Use color to inform, not confuse. So it is a bit of confusion. There is no point of having different colors for different product name. And try to minimize the colors, and use other methods in your dashboard to focus attention, like interactivity or highlighting. This one is better than this one. So this was product name with different colors, but here what we have is very less colors that we have. We have different products, but each of them is associated with a category, rather than having different color for different products, we have color for different categories now. So if you just click on one of the categories, you will just see the points which are associated with this specific category, which is interactivity rather than highlighting here, what we created here. That's exactly what we did last week. So there are different bars that we have. All of them are gray. If you want to look at one of them, this is the trial, clinical trial for a med in different companies. And for each of them, there is a bar that we have. So if you click on each of them, it goes for that specific company, and then we can see the line chart associated with the company as well. So this is also highlighting to see how it works. If you want to see how it works, you can just click on this link and you will see. Speaking of colors, the use of color in visualization, color blindness is something which is around us. Even though we know that 6.6% of British males are red and green colorblind. Keep color blindness in mind when you are creating a visualization. So consider them, because the way that they see is completely different from others. And if you want to attract some attentions by using the colors, if you don't consider this, you won't get the reactions that you want, or you don't essentially attract or draw the attention of those people in your audience. Tableau has a colorblind friendly feature such as blue and orange default palette for diverging color scheme. So I didn't use that orange and blue in the bar chart that we had. It was the default of Tableau, which is blue and orange for color blindness issue. Why should you care? Because if the percentage is like 6.6, and if you have thousands of audience, there will be people who are color blind. Potentially in the audience of like 100 or thousands people, there are people who are not able to distinguish red and green charts. There is a color blindness simulator that we can use. The link is here. This is for Oracle. So essentially, you can see if you have this one, how it will be seen by a colorblind person, which is very good. When you have your visualization ready, if you have different colors and you use colors often in your dashboard, what you can do is just check it with Oracle color, or like Oracle, to see how it is seen by a colorblind person. And there are different sort of like color blindness. So for each of them, you can see. So if someone is green and red blind, what they can see, you wanted to draw the attention. And if your bars are green, shades of green and red, what they will see is this one. So you can see that there is nothing that they can see as a distinguished one table, which is different from the others. So you wanted to highlight it here for them to see what the audience cannot see. So if you have the same bar as blue and orange as the color, this is what they can see. Still, the colors are different, but you can see that. Oops. Oh, sorry. It should be fine now. Sorry for that. I just messed up with the wrong input and output. Now let me see if it works. Okay. You should be able to see the slides, and I presume that you can hear me well. Just let me. Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Thank you for confirming. Now, this is what they can see. So essentially, the colors are not as you use when you created the visualization, the chart. However, it is different. So still, you draw the attention that you want. It's not only for visualization that you have to be careful. It happened a few years ago. I don't remember which year it is, but the rugby game between England and Wales, Ireland and Wales, the kids were in the in colors of green and red. and colorblind people would see them in this way. So they couldn't distinguish the players only based on the um, 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 outfit that they had, the shirts that they had while playing. So it is really important. Chart choices, we discussed this. I showed you a few examples last week. For instance, if you have the subcategories for the and the sales, it's not really reasonable to have a pie chart, and that's the same for the subcategory. We have categorical data here that we want to show the sale, and having a line chart is not the best choice that you can have. Bar charts are often the best choice for categorical data. This one line chart implies connection, and on the other hand, we have the same data which is better represented with a bar chart. So that's the pie chart that I was talking about. It is really hard to interpret this. You can do that, but this is something that easily you can understand. Oh, the copier is the best one, and then you have tables, which is like negative if you have profit, and then labels is the lowest one. But if you want to look at this one, you have to go, is it the one or this one? And then you have to just associate it which one the color is here. So it's not easy to do that. So our eyes interpret angles much less efficiently rather than the height of, I showed you the sensor memory that you could see. We had a length, we had width, but we didn't have angles. So here you have to see which angle is the highest one to see what that one is. So can you tell easily what is the third highest sales value based on the pie chart that we have? It's not easy. Charts can inform or mislead. It's very important to consider the best type of chart for each visualization. This can have a huge impact on the effectiveness of the visualization. Different charts have different strength and weaknesses, so you have to be really careful which sort of chart you are going to use. The best resource for chart types is this person who used to work for still working for a company, visualization consultant company who does visualization for big companies, and they created this visual vocabulary. The link is here that we can access from Tableau. Tableau also provides some interesting points to consider that we can see the link there. This from visual vocabulary. We have like 9 different sort of vocabulary here: deviation, correlation, ranking, distribution, so on and so forth. And you can see there are like tabs here that you can click on each of them if you go to the link that I shared with you. So here it says that deviation is emphasize variations as plus or minus from a fixed reference point. Typically, the reference point is 0, but it can also be a greater target or a long-term average. Can also be used to show segment sentiment. So deviation, this is what we did with profit and we had this diverging color palette, that if the profit is negative, the color is different. That's exactly the deviation that we have here. So we have a point reference point which is 0. We want to show them, and we want to draw attention to the ones which are like negative, and it's super easy with this one. And there are different ways of doing this. This is this one that we have a stacked bar. We have surplus or deficit field line, or we have spine chart. Correlation, we want to see what is the relationship between 2 or more different variables. You can use different sort of thing here. It can be a scatter plot, it can be a line and column, it can be connected scatter plot, bubble, or heat map. The next one is ranking. For ranking, you can use bar chart as we did. You can just sort them, find the one which is on the highest one, and that's the one that we want to focus on. Ordered column is another one that you have. Ordered proportional symbol, the biggest, the bubble is the biggest, the highest ranking is. Dot strip plot that we have a slope, we have also lollipop chart as well. Distribution, we can use histogram, we can use box and pixel, box plot, we can use violin plot, population pyramid, and there are other sort of things that we have. So I'm showing you this These are the choices, good choices of charts. So if you want to create something which is related to distribution, you can use these ones. These are the best ones that you can use. You're not going to use an ordered proportional simple, for instance. And then you can have a look and see which one is the best that represents your data set. Still, there are different choices that you have. One of them might be good for this data set, the other one can be good for another data set. The change over time, one of them is line chart that we created last week, obviously, and there are other stuff that we have here. For part to whole as well, there are these options over there. We have magnitude, a column, bar, paid column, and others. Special, we can use map as we did, but there are other options as well. Flow is something that flow of something, for instance, people who moved from a country to another country that we can see. There are things that we have to avoid. So these were like good things to do with the charts, which one you have to use. There are things that we have to avoid. Cognitive load is one of them. As I said, we don't want to have a complex dashboard in front of the audience. Axis scale, if you have the labels as we did, you don't have the axis title. That was the reason that we removed it in our case. Use of color, you don't want to use too many colors, or you don't want to use the colors that are not suitable for colorblind people. Optimal chart types that we just talked about them. Interactivity we will see in the next slide, and double or triple encoding. So this is interactivity that we have. Let's say you want to show some sort of data for different years, and then you use the filter that we will use in the next workshops. And you have different points for this one. This is for 2019 on the left and 2020 for the right one. If you want to compare them, you have to keep an eye to see where this one is or the other one is. Or on the other hand, what you can do is you can use multiple filters. So select both of them, and both of them are with different colors. Now we can see all points with different colors, which represent different yes. Double encoding or triple encoding is something that we have here. Here you can see that we have label for the cell, we have the scale here, we also have the color. So not all of them are necessary. I told you in the a few minutes ago that if you're using the shades of the blue to show the darker, the more, then why we have the numbers. So if you have the numbers, why we have the scale on the axis. So one of them should be enough. We don't want to have bars that you have to scroll either right or like down. That's something that we don't really like, but sometimes the data set that you have to do that, but try to avoid them as much as you can. Cognitive load, this is like advertisement. If you want to find something related to you, it's really hard to find it. You have to just really search for that. But what we want to do, remember that we want to start from like left top corner, because that's where the audience, human being, first look, and then we want to have a story to tell. We don't want something which is really confusing like this one. This is again something, even though they are nice, but they are cognitive load, too much granularity that we have here. This one is a good one that we have, London bus collisions report. Here you can see that it started with the big number, which is the number of journeys, the number of accidents, and the number of fatalities. And then we have the map to show where we have the accidents, we have the casualties and injury results, and also a timeline of how it is going on different years or months. There is a question: in which case do you suggest using axes or specific labels? I like specific labels, but depending on data, if you have too many of them next to each other, then these numbers will be so close to each other. It might be better to have the axis. So depending on the visualization or data set that you have. If you Google for Fox News bad visualization, you will find a few of them. Some of them intentionally, some of them unintentionally. You can see this pie chart is just awful. You can't see anything. Or this one, you can see that they wanted to show the number of illegal migrants coming from south border, and they just showed them, they sorted the axis from 150,000, and you can see in this case there is a massive difference from 20 2013 and 2012. While if the axis starts from 0, the difference between these two becomes very small and tiny. Or this one here, you can see that the numbers on the y-axis, 30, 60, 90, okay, 30 the difference, suddenly 100, but the the distances are the same. So I don't really know how they did this. This is something which is really cognitive load. There are lots of things that we have. It looks nice, but not informative. Okay. And finally, some additional fundamentals of data visualization video, which you can find on this link. If you just click on this, you can find them. Great stuff. I'm going to stop here. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, I will see some of you on tomorrow for the workshop, or the rest of you on Monday morning, and so on and so forth. Take care. See you. How are we going to be tested on Tableau, considering we have a paper-based visit? You will be tested on the paper. You won't have computer, therefore you will be tested on paper. No worries. Thanks for being here. I'm going to stop the recording because I don't think that you will have